breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, Dr. Glenn Harrison, on the other side of the screen there. And today we are going to cover something that has been a little bit in the news lately, whether that is, ethical reasons or personal choice reasons. And documentaries. That's another big one, right? So, and that is veganism. And we chose to talk about this today because not only are we coming at it from a healthcare perspective, but we also, because of our backgrounds, have a little bit of insight as far as the other side of it. So if you're a vegan or you have a family member that's a vegan or it's something you might be interested in, some of the possible pros and cons associated with veganism, and you're definitely going to want to listen to this because we're going to get after all that right now. If this is your first time tuning in and you have questions about your own health, make sure you turn on the like and subscribe button and you turn on notifications so you continue to get the notifications when we come out with new information, because we will be coming out with it on a weekly basis.
That's right.
So without further ado, man, let's get started on veganism.
Okay. I love this topic because I know you as well, Dr. Cole. We see a lot of people that pursue this avenue for whatever the reason, ethical reasons, health reasons, and there's pros to this and there's cons to this. So society is being fed certain things. They're being fed it's all this way or all that way.
Right.
And that's coming into weight loss programs. It seems like health in general, people swing 100% one way. It's the new cool thing to do, and then 100% the other way. And it's actually can be pretty problematic. So
absolutely.
So that's what I'm looking forward to jumping in. So what are some common reasons why somebody that you see that would pursue kind of the vegan diet?
Sure. So I have patients I've had a couple patients that are vegans, and for them, for the most part, it was like ethical reasons where they didn't like the practices of basically large farm. And when I say that, I mean like feedlots. And feedlots are where, the cows are being housed in they're never on pasture. They're standing in a big dirt feedlot in Nebraska somewhere, and they're fed corn and grains and all this stuff. And it's maybe not, as healthy of an environment for the animals as they want, or even like those chicken farms where they have them in the big chicken barns or turkey barns.
Yeah, they never see the sun.
Never. And they've been engineered so that in a lot of times they can't even stand up because their breasts are so large. And we heard a lot about this when that virus went through and knocked out all those turkey farms. I think we were actually in school. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So all those turkey farms were wiped out because of the virus that went through that avian flu. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I mean, that's a big reason why a lot of people choose to not eat, animal products.
The ethical purposes, the way they're raised, or any of that, just we realize that we're taking the life of some animal if we're going to eat it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
The basic
and what quality of life did that animal have prior to the end of it?
That's right. Yeah, and what are we feeding into? So or paying our dollars into to support. So that's one that I see all the time that people are pursuing a vegan diet. They believe it's the picture of health diet. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some great things about it, but we'll get into some of the bad things. So I see a lot of people pursuing it for weight loss and physique.
Yep.
And then I'll also see people pursuing it. There's a lot of data behind it, behind vegan diets and pursuing efforts to reduce or overcome diabetes and insulin resistance. There are pros to this. But I know we talked about the pros and cons in this, Dr. Kolby, when we were going to kind of lay this out. What are some of and I know you see them, we talked about this, what are some of the cons, the negative effects of a hardcore, focused vegan diet?
Yeah, so a focused vegan is someone who doesn't have any animal products whatsoever, right? So no milk, no eggs, no dairy, no cheese, no anything, right? And one of the big problems with that is that there is essential things in animal products that we need for brain health, for cell health, for neurotransmitter productions. One of the big ones is choline. So you'll see that vegans are actually suffering from choline deficiencies, and you need choline for tons of production of neurotransmitters in your brain. You look at it as they can become iron deficient. I actually had a patient that came in and she was suffering from chronic, severe, unrelenting migraines. She'd have the migraines pretty much from the time she had them every day, on a varying degree of severity, but usually they hovered around that 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. And she suffered from them for at least 8 to 10 hours a day. And when we ran her blood work, she was anemic. So she actually had, iron deficiency anemia. So she was microcytic hypochromic. So her red blood cells were smaller than they're supposed to be, and they weren't the same color as they're supposed to be. And that was as a direct consequence of her not consuming enough iron in the form of either animal protein or other supplementation forms of iron. I know we talked a lot about B vitamin deficiencies, B12, and then also like the fatty acids,
Yeah.
So why don't I let you go into that a little bit? Because
So we need to have, when we're consuming vegan only diets, there are plant fats, but there are certain fats that we're only able to get in the form of animal protein. And these animal fats are building blocks of cholesterol. And these cholesterol pieces are building blocks of hormones. If we don't have the proper cholesterol, we can't properly make hormones. So we'll see all sorts of hormonal dysfunctions in men and women. Women will be deficient in hormones for fertility, for agility, for libido, all sorts of different things. And men will have hormonal issues. Their testosterone will become depleted. And it's caused severe problems, and even growth hormone. They won't end up with enough growth hormone, so they won't develop properly. And then I know you can talk a little bit about these fats and brain health, I imagine, Dr. Kolby.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to look. I basically break it down as this: your cell membranes are what's called a biphospholipid membrane, right? So it means that your cells are made up of 2 layers of fats. You need fats. You need choline. You need B vitamins. You need all of these things to have basically healthy production, just healthy regulated production, whether that's for neurotransmitters. Then you can look at things like, oh man, this guy's got anxiety and depression. Well, why is that? Oh, he's doesn't have any choline, or even acetylcholine, which is like present at the neuromuscular junction. All of these type of things, you can't influence it without that. You need animal proteins and fats as the building blocks of our basic physiology.
Our brains evolved. Evolved when we started to consume animal protein and animal products. So there's another thing, and we talked about replacement. So when I see, and I know we just talked about this, is people who practicing veganism, vegan diets, the very strict ones. They need a protein source, and soy tends to be a pretty readily available protein source, so they lean into that. And that's their go-to. And the soy protein creates all sorts of problems. There's chemicals. It creates immune problems. We talked about xenoestrogens, which is a fake estrogen that'll build up in both women and men and cause their own natural hormone to be imbalanced. So
it's a hormone disruptor.
Just by nature. And it's one of the most mutated, if not the most mutated, modified plant species on the planet.
Well, you look at it, soybeans have the ability for you to spray Roundup directly on the leaves and survive. They call them Roundup ready soybeans. You ever heard of those? Yeah. They literally can go through and spray them with a herbicide that kills everything else, but it won't kill the soybeans. Mm-hmm. And do you think that they washed all those soybeans before? That's a question you have to ask.
Yeah.
If we're talking about ethical practices of farming,
mm-hmm. That's true.
Where do you stand on that?
That's exactly
and
true.
If it is for an ethical reason, I can get behind not getting your animal products from, big farms like that, because I grew up on a ranch out in Wyoming, and all of our cattle were on pasture, their entire lives, and never once were on a food lot.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the farming practices. I understand some of the intricacies that go into that, based on that you have to stay profitable as a business in order for it to stay. but that doesn't mean I agree with it. But in the same token, like, you also have to look at, if you're going to be an advocate for that, you maybe need to look at the other options too, because a lot of soybeans and stuff like that are sprayed with a lot of pesticides. And then that stuff's being fed to not only the other cattle in the form of meal and all this type of stuff, but it's also fed to us.
Yeah.
So
that's
you know
right.
what I mean?
So that's kind of like the negative side of vegan diets. But what is another problem in this country with regards to diet? We talk again the extreme only vegan,
Right?
or what about the extreme standard American diet?
Oh man, the standard American diet, I would almost say that the vegan diet's probably better in a lot of cases.
Probably, right? Because it's loaded with
sugar, loaded with sugar. You look at it and you look at the size, the serving size, and the amount of calories and the amount of simple carbohydrates and even the grams of sugar. Like a can of pop is like 160 or 180 grams or calories and 26 or 28 grams of sugar, if not more. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, just the sugar standpoint. But then we think of what we can go to some steakhouses, or not even a steakhouse, and there's 98% of what's on our plate is animal protein.
Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, too.
Yeah, a little speckle of maybe some.
I'm gonna eat some broccolini in this 32 ounce ribeye.
Yeah, and that's not balanced either. There's all sorts of problems with that. So if we don't have any of those plant fibers, I think we talked about this in the past, we lose our ability to maintain healthy gut biodiversity.
Yeah, it messes with your ability to have a diverse microbiome, and then it also affects your ability to manufacture short chain fatty acids from the fiber in the plant.
And there's a reason why people who are only eating the standard American diet and mountains of meat, why they are higher risk of colon cancer, because they're not maintaining, as you said, they're not maintaining our intestine and our digestive tract with the bacteria that eats the plant fibers, because they're not eating any plant fibers, so they're not maintaining the bacteria that maintains. So then mutations happen and cancers happen. So I guess that's a great massive contrast of how people will be, eating at the state fair all week, and then they slam right into, I'm going to be a vegan for another week, and they go back and forth with extreme diets. That's not the way our bodies are designed.
No, and I think that it really just, the key takeaway that both of us, I think, kind of have agreed on is that just eating a well-balanced, well-rounded diet there is no magic bullet. Mm-hmm. I know that we all want the magic bullet. We all want the magic cure. We all want the definitive, this is what you do, this is how you do it, and this will solve all your problems. But sadly, that is just not the case. And especially with diet, because there's a lot of different, physiology types out there. There's a lot of different metabolic needs based on your body type. So there is no, this is the one size fits all, cure all diet to do it. Mm-hmm. The best piece of advice I can give to you is eat a well-balanced, well-rounded diet, and your physiology is going to thank you. That's right. It's going to cater to every aspect of your body. And you're not going to be having to load up with supplements because you're not getting from your diet, in the case of a vegan diet. Mm-hmm. So have you ever seen any cases in the office, Dr. Kolby, where there were health consequences due to a vegan diet? Yeah, for sure. I saw the one with the migraines. That was directly because she was anemic. And then I've had one that came in, and she actually, because she was vegan, she actually had developed like PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, because she was and when I ran her hormone panel, I was like, oh, wow, Yeah. And then we had to do some ultrasound on her pelvis because she developed uterine fibroids. So hormonal dysfunction, creating a whole host big time, of symptoms. A lot. Yep. I had a case that this lady had a bee farm back in the day, and there was years and years and years prior to working with her, and she was a practicing vegan and very strict. She had her reasons, and there were all sorts of brain fog and focus and emotional health issues, and naturally what happened was we found out she was severely anemic, and she was probably anemic all her life. And then once we got her iron back up and her B12 back up, what happened is these welts that she had from bee stings, they completely disappeared within a month, and she had them for years. So it's it was bizarre. She said my bee welts went away, and I didn't understand what that meant.
And then she told me the history, and she had these welts for like 7 to 8 years, and they disappeared. So I always refer to that story because it's a great example on the importance of iron. If you don't have enough iron in your body, certain diets or whatever, there's many reasons. I don't know if we talked about anemia.
Have we gone through it? That might be.
I don't know. That would be a good topic. Maybe next day we'll talk about anemia. But the anemia means lack of oxygen in the body for whatever the reason, and lack of iron is a major cause of this, and high risk for vegetarians and vegans. And that she was suffering with that, and her brain was starving for oxygen, and her body was starving for oxygen. And you need oxygen to heal tissues. And even those old welts from 8 years ago disappeared. So pretty exciting. Yeah. And that's just a welt on externally. Imagine
what the inside looks like, right?
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps it up. I guess the moral of the story is fad diets are not smart.
No.
And paying attention, sure, a balanced diet might not seem sexy, exciting, and the new cool thing to do, but it's the best thing you can do. And if you're looking for health, that's going to be the avenue.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys got value from this content, please like and share it with your friends and loved ones, or anyone that you feel might get some benefit out of there. And if you guys have questions, you can always reach out to us. Our email is info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. Our websites are www.northlakechiropractic.com and www.drgharrison.com, or you can reach out to us on social media, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anemia might be something we can talk about.
One of the next ones
in the coming days, so we can get that thing taken care of. But we'll keep spitballing, and then.
All right. Well, it's great seeing you again, Dr. Kolby.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.